What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on with NIO share price for tomorrow, as we have a very big piece of news coming out. We have CPI coming out in the morning that will affect how the entire market moves. So I will break down some very important numbers for you about what that could actually cause, what you should be watching for as well going forward. Now, before I begin getting down about this, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NEO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla or NEO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 6 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. NIO was up almost 6% for the day and did something similar to what I predicted in one of my earlier videos, but I told you all to be very careful with the markets right now. Now, let me explain. So, I was telling you guys that NIO had a possible, right, head and shoulders developing right here. I told you back here that NIO would probably get a really nice push to the upside very, very soon. I did tell you it still is very possible, but I told you to also be very careful during a time like this. And here's why. Yes, it's awesome to see NIO pumping, and yes, this technically is forming so far. We did actually pump a little above where the left shoulder would have been. So I don't know for sure if this will play out. But here's the risk about this. The market's pumping, and this is helping NIO pump, right? That's fine. But the problem is we have CPI coming out tomorrow and we're pumping approaching it. I would still be very careful approaching a big event to see the market pumping like this. This means it is possible for NIO and the market just keep going. Maybe NIO tries to get to $10, or we could see a big reversal off a hot CPI report, and NIO could come all the way back down to fill this gap back down to $9 or even lower, and the market could end up reversing. So be very careful with tomorrow. I'm going to break down some numbers now for you guys and talk about NIO a little bit more later on. We've been seeing CPI being relatively hot every single month, even if you look at a core and also at different like pieces of data, specific details about it from housing, not to mention energy and etc. And also for like Medicare. And we're continuing to see relatively high CPI and inflationary data. Now, has it been on decline overall? The answer is yes, but you also have to remember that we were in a decline early during last year for some periods. Then we saw a big increase as we got closer to the summertime, right? During this period right here, May to June, there was this really big increase that happened. And there is a possibility we could see something like that happen this year as energy prices are triggering lots and lots of buy signals. We're continuing to see energy go up. So I'd still be very careful. But like I said before, there's no confirmation of this just yet. We still have to wait for the data. Now, when it comes to the overall data, I just want to note that it's estimated that core is supposed to be 5.5%, but the Fed is warning us that this might be a little bit hot. However, CPI alone should be about 5.3%. Once again, not guaranteeing anything, but this is what we are essentially expecting, a bit of a decrease from the previous report year over year. Now, looking at some energy prices, we did see energy go up for the month of March, and the data is coming out for the month of March. Once again, tomorrow, before the market opens, 1 hour before the market opens, the data is coming out. Make sure you're ready for it. And energy is going up, so that is a bit of a concern for me, but nothing too serious because there were instances where this happened, yet the data wasn't too bad. So it really depends on how they calculate it and what they actually use. Now, when it comes to the data, though, this is what I wanted everyone to essentially know, and that is coming up with just CPI year over year. If CPI is 5.7%, expect a crash in the markets. Even NIO is going to crash. If it's 5.5 to 5.6% CPI, that would still be pretty bad. We could drop another 2% from where we currently are. That would not be good for the markets because this would show the same data as the previous month, if not higher than before, and that could actually cause some panic. If it's 5.3 to 5.4%, this would be okay. We could still, continue to hold up, maybe move a little bit higher if it were on the lower end of this. And 5.2% or less, and the market's going to actually continue to like that. All right, that's for CPI. For core CPI, because we also have to account for this, 6% to 5.9%, super unlikely, but that would crash the market hard. 5.8 to 5.7% would also cause a big drop in the markets, right? But anything between 5.5 to 5.6% could have a very mixed result. We could actually go up a little bit, maybe a little bit down, depending on which one it is. The Fed is telling us we might get something closer to this, though, 5.6%. And the odds do favor it being somewhere around here. We want it to be around here or lower, but the Fed is saying it might be 5.6%. So we'll just have to wait and see. The Fed is projecting that, and anything below 5.4% will help the market continue to rally. Now, I'm not too sure about CPI in itself. It is very manipulated, so I don't know exactly what this is going to look like. Hopefully, it is not too bad. It's well below 5.5 and 5.4%, hopefully. And what I do find to be a little bit concerning, though, is once again, lots of analysts are projecting we might get a relatively hot core CPI for March. And we could see it around 5.6%, which could actually lead to a negative reaction from the markets. Not guaranteeing it, though. I'm not betting on it. I'm not promising it. I'm saying this is what the warnings are suggesting. This is what the Fed is preparing us for. And it is a possibility. So just be ready. Now, when it comes to NIO in particular, NIO actually had 39 million excuse me, sorry guys, 39 million in volume, once again holding up quite nicely. Short volume is now actually going up on NIO quite a bit, so we did see a lot more selling pressure coming back to NIO for the time being. Right now, the price pairs ratio should bounce off this area right here. It's almost like a support, which tells me NIO is still outperforming, doing quite well. And typically, NIO is actually green about what, like 56% of the time on Wednesdays, but this doesn't really matter too much, once again, because of CPI coming out. And finally, the shorting on NIO has been decreasing. We only saw about 3.6 million shares shorted the last time this came out. So that is a decent sign. That is what's helping NIO continue to pump. NIO is also getting more ratings, very high ratings from many analysts, and they are giving better projected ratings for both NIO and XBONG going forward. So that's a very, very good sign for us. But once again, for the super short term, we have to actually look at what's going to happen to the markets, how they respond to this data. Now, for NIO, I just want to note we're holding up above 9.5. That's awesome, but we do have a possible head and shoulders developing. Right? I don't know if we're just going to, start pulling back quickly and immediately, or if it's just going to hold up for a while and then, or if we invalidate this and just keep pumping. I don't know which one is going to be. It's going to heavily depend on CPI, right? If CPI is low, it's possible for NIO to, rally and get back once again to $10. If CPI is hot, NIO will most likely come down to fill this gap or even break below 9. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know, but I just want to let everyone know that the Fed was warning us that they are, anticipating core being a little bit hot. And if core is a little hot, if CPI is a little hot, that could be negative. So the odds are a little bit more likely favoring downside for the markets and NIO, especially because we're pumping approaching the big event. Once again, not the best of moves to make, but it's not a guarantee. All right. It is possible for NIO to rally. It's possible for anything to happen depending on the data. I don't know what the data is going to exactly be. That's why I'm still open minded and prepared for anything. But I just want to say and it's a little bit more likely that we get a somewhat hot report, a little bit more likely. And that could cause NIO to come down to fill this gap. All right? I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying it's a little more likely based off what the Fed is saying. But overall, be prepared for anything because the data comes up before the market opens. All right? Additionally, we do have a possible, head and shoulders that could play out. It could be a trap too, but once again, we'll just have to wait and see what CPI causes to see if this will play out. If we do see NIO come back down to complete this head and shoulders, we've completed about 80% of it so far. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyways, thank you all for listening. Get ready for tomorrow. Please have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. And with that said, please, please, please do not worry about what's about to happen to NIO. I just want to note that, yes, there could be more downside in the future. I still see it as a very good buying opportunity. But for the long term, I'm still very bullish. Thank you, NIO to the moon, because the long term is still incredibly bright. And peace out.